Hi everyone! Today I'm going to show you how to create a textured / wireframe turntable in Unreal Engine. Step 1 is going to be to open up your 3D model in your 3D modeling software. So for me, this is going to be Maya. So here you can see I have my character slightly posed, looking good. And next up, we're going to want to go ahead and get those wireframe textures ready to go for us. So in order to do this, we got to go into our UV editing. So in Maya, this is go to workspace and change it from general to UV editing. And then you're going to want to figure out your different UV maps. As you can see, if I select everything here, it's looking pretty crazy. That's because this model has two different materials. And those two different materials have different UV maps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the components here that belong to one UV map. So it's going to be this for the clothes. And then the other one is the body. So here you can see this is a proper UV map now. Next up, in order to get that UV snapshot, we're going to go to Image, and then UV Snapshot. Here we go. And then we just want to double check a few things. So first of all, this is a JPEG, that's good. We want to make sure the size is 2048 by 2048, and the edge color can be white. Now we're going to go ahead and go to File Name and Browse. And here you're going to be able to choose where you are saving this UV snapshot. So for me, I want it saved here. And then I'm going to go ahead and name it. This is for me is going to be clothes-wireframe. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then after you've saved it, now you have to click Apply. So click Apply, and now you've saved the snapshot. All right, now I want to inverse my selection here. So I'm going to go ahead and Shift hold and drag. And there we go. Now you can see I've selected only the body parts. And here you can see my UV snapshot for the body. So we're going to go ahead and do the same as we did before. Go to UV snapshot. Everything still looks good here. Browse. Go ahead and name it. This for me is going to be body wireframe. And save. And then apply. And overwrite. Perfect. For those of you using Blender, I'm going to have a written description in description below on how to get a UV snapshot from there. All right, moving on, we can go ahead and exit the UV editing and go back to general. And now I'm going to want to go ahead and create a combined version of my mesh. This is just going to make it easier to work with in Unreal Engine. So what I'm going to go to do is I'm going to select everything here. You can see my outliner, I have everything. I'm going to go ahead and click Control D. And now I have created a duplicate. Now I want to go ahead and combine all of these objects. I'm going to go to Mesh and then to Combine. Perfect. Now we're going to want to go ahead and delete the history and freeze transform. But now you can see I got a fully combined mesh. Now with this combined mesh selected, we're going to go ahead and go into File and Export Selection. And then you're just going to want to export this as an FBX export. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and call this for posed cat and export. There we go. And now we're all done in the 3D modeling software. Step 2 is going to be inversing these UV snapshots we just took. In order to do this, you're going to want to go ahead and open up the UV snapshots in some sort of 2D editing software. So I'm using Photoshop. As you can see, we have it open here. We're going to want to go ahead and inverse it. So Photoshop, you do this by going into Image, Adjustments, then you find Invert. Then since I have two different UV snapshots, I'm going to want to do this here as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and use the shortcut now, which is Control-I. There we go. And now I'm going to want to go ahead and save those. I'm going to go to File, Export, Export As. I want this to be a JPEG. I'm going to put it on the highest quality, 2048 by 2048. Perfect. Now we're going to click Export. Now I'm going to want to go ahead and figure out where I am going to export. For me, it's going to be down here. And that is incorrect. Let's see here. There. And I'm just going to call this for inverse so that I still have the original as well. Perfect. And I'm going to go ahead and redo that here as well. JPEG, highest quality, export. We're going to go ahead and call this for body wireframe inverse. Perfect. Then you are good to go in the 2D editing software. Our next step is going to be to export the textures of the character. So as you can see here, I have my little cat character, has some textures, and I've used Adobe Substance Painter, but you might have used another software. If you've used another software, just go ahead and export whatever type of maps you have, but make sure you at least have base color, that is the most important. And then maybe you have any normal maps or anything. But for those of us who are using Substance Painter, there's a bit of a specific way to do things to make sure that it's ready for Unreal Engine. So we can go ahead and click on File, Export Textures. Then we want to just double check here. This is the amount of materials. So as you can see, I have 2 materials, which is correct. I'm going to go in Global Settings here. And now I want to make sure that they're going to be saved into the correct place. So I'm going to click here. This is correct for me. And so I'm going to click Select Folder. And then here, the important part is the output template. You want to make sure it's on Unreal Engine 4 packed. So this is going to be almost all the way on the bottom. There you go. After you've done that, you should be good to go, and you can go ahead and click Export. And there you can see it has successfully exported. So then you are ready to put everything into Unreal. Now that we're ready to put everything into Unreal, you're going to want to go ahead and create a new Unreal scene. I already have one set up here. You essentially just need a blank level with no lighting because you're going to be adding in your own lighting. And then you're just going to want to create some sort of nice setup. So I've created this backdrop in Maya and just exported it so that I won't have any creases or seams. But you could also just set up like a box with white walls and such, and that would work as well. Then you want to go ahead and set up 3-point lighting. So that's going to be one light pointing this way, one light pointing this way, one light pointing this way from the back. And then I like to have my little turn wheel here that I like the models to be displayed on. So you can just go ahead and set it up and then come back when you're ready. And then if you are ready, you want to go ahead and open up your content drawer. I like to just click Control and Space. And you're going to want to go ahead and find where you want to save your models. So for me, I've created a folder called 3D Models, and I'm going to go ahead and go into Cat. And now I'm going to want to go ahead and drag and drop my model that I exported. So I'm going to go ahead and go here, go to Player, Exports, and here I have the model that I exported earlier, PoseCat. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that and drop it in. And then we can see here, this model does not have a skeletal mesh, so I don't need to worry about that. Collisions is fine to get, and everything here looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and click Import All. There we go. Now you can see it imported the model itself along with the 2 materials that belong for that model. Now I'm going to go ahead and drag this model out, and perfect. Now we get to see him standing there. Very nice. Next up, we're going to want to go ahead and set up all the textures and such. In order to do this, we're going to want to go ahead and go into the content drawer again, and I like to create a new folder in the same place that I have my 3D model and call it for textures. There we go. Go in here, and now we're going to want to go ahead and import all the different textures that we have. All right, once you've found your folder where all your textures are, you can go ahead and start selecting them. So I'm going to go ahead and select all the textures that I have here. I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop them right in. You can see they start popping up. Very nice. I'm going to want to do the same for the wireframes. Now I only want these white ones right here, the inverse versions. So I can go ahead and drag and drop those in there as well. Perfect. Now that we have those in, there's a few things we have to change. So these ones that are green and orange and yellow are called the occlusion roughness or occlusion roughness metallic. And we need to edit these before we can do anything more with them. So we need to double click on these ones. Just going to drag in here. You can see here where it says sRGB is checked. We do not want that to be checked. So we're going to click that off and then save. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same to this one. sRGB off and save. If this is on, it's going to create some weird effects with the roughness, and metallic will be off and it's going to look very strange. All right, you can exit out of those. Next up, we want to go ahead and open up these materials that got imported with us. So I'm going to start with this one right here, which is the cat itself. It's going to go ahead and import with a random color, but we don't really need that, so we can just take that and delete it. Then we can open up our content drawer, which again is Control and Space, and then we can navigate to where we imported our textures. Now I just have to find the correct textures. So I am on the cat's body, so I can just look for all the ones that are the cat's body, which is cat. So this one, and this one. Now I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop those into the blueprint here. So I like to organize it where the base color is up here. You can usually tell this is just colorful, like these are your base colors essentially. That's the easiest way to tell. Next up, the normals are always going to be this blue and purple, so you can go ahead and put that right under. And then this one, you can just go ahead and put right here. So now we have to start plugging stuff in correctly. So for the base color, we can just take this RGB and plop it right into base color. And the same with normal, RGB right into normal. Here's where it gets a little bit more complicated. We want to take the R here and plug that into ambient occlusion. The B here is going to go into metallic, and G is going to go into roughness. There we go. Now we can go ahead and save. And now when we go back, we can see that our material has been updated. So now I'm just going to go ahead and redo that for the clothing. It's going to open that up, delete this. Then we're going to go into the textures. Going to go ahead and grab these three. You might also have one more that's called specular. You don't really need that one most likely unless you have anything that needs a specular map. But I don't, so I just ignore that one. See, I'm going to go ahead and put this there, and then just quickly plug all these in. There we go. Everything is saved, and now the character is fully ready. Now that the character itself has the materials, we want to go ahead and create a material for the wireframe version as well. So how we're going to do this is we can go ahead and find where we have our two other materials and the cat static mesh. And then in the content browser here, right click, and you're going to get up this menu. And you want to go up to material and click on that. Now I like to always name my materials with an M and an underscore, whatever the material's name is. So I'm going to go ahead and do cat wireframe for the first one here. And then I'm going to want to create one more since we have two wireframes for this model. So clothes wireframe. There we go. Very nice. Then we can just go ahead and open both of these up. Get both of them open here by double clicking on them. And I'm going to start with the cat wireframe. So this one's going to be extremely simple. You just want to take the wireframe texture. So this is the cat's body wireframe. I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop that right in here. And that RGB is going to go right into base color. Then you are good to go. And then you want to just go ahead and do the same for the next one. RGB right into base color. And we're good to go. And now in order to place these on here, it's going to be as simple as finding the materials and then dragging them onto the right parts. So this cat wireframe, I'm going to go ahead and drag that, and this is going to go on the body, so I make sure I hover over the right area. There we go. And then for clothes, hover over some clothes and drop. And now you can see that we have the wireframe all ready to go. But to render, we're going to start by using the clothes. So I'm just going to go ahead and select the actual textures and place those on there for now. But it's as easy as just dragging in order to switch. Next up, we're going to go ahead and create the sequencer where we're going to render the actual turntable sequence. So what I like to do is I like to go up here and I'm going to click down, and you can easily add a level sequence here. So I'm going to click that. Now I would go ahead and create a new folder. You can just right click and click new folder and call it sequencer. I already have one here, so I'm going to go in. And then you want to go ahead and name your level sequence. For me, this is going to be cat turntable. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Very nice. Then you're going to have your sequencer open up here, and as you can see right now, it is completely blank. So we want to go ahead and add a few things. The first thing we want is a camera. So right here, you're going to see create a new camera. Go ahead and click there. And perfect. And now you can see that the view has kind of cropped up here. That's because we are looking through the camera's lens. Another way to double check that is to see that this is blue, this second camera option here. And this way you're able to just scroll out and you're able to position your camera exactly as you want. So I'm going to go ahead and position my camera to be about right here. And I can see it's looking a little bit blurry and everything, so you just want to play around with all these numbers. As you can see now it gets like blurry, now it gets sharp. I'm going to increase that and the main focal length and edit that as well. I'm going to keep that at 35. And a manual focus distance. Usually best to have a pretty high number. There we go. And now we have our camera set up, so we don't really want to touch that anymore. So you can just go ahead and unclick here to be able to go back to the normal view. Or if you want to look through the camera view, but you don't want to be able to turn around, then you click on the top version here. But we want to be able to see everything for now. So one thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go ahead and add a post-processing cube. Unreal likes to create motion blur, essentially, when you are spinning things or moving things, and that does not translate super well onto a turntable, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of that. So in order to get this post-processing cube, you want to go ahead and make sure that the Place Actors window is open. If not, go here and click on Place Actors. And then you're going to want to go ahead and go to the Visual Effects tab, and here you're going to see on the top the post-process volume. So I'm going to go ahead and just drag and drop that. And now I'm going to go ahead and scale that up because I want that to just encompass the entire area. Yeah, perfect. And now in the outliner, you can see that the post-processing volume is clicked, and that is good. And now we're going to go ahead and look up motion blur. And here you can see that the amount and max and everything here is just not clicked. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and click on amounts, and we just want to take that all the way down to 0. We can also click on max and put that onto 0 as well, just to be sure. And the rest we can leave as is. And now I want to go ahead and start animating. So in order to actually make the character and this little pedestal it's sitting on spin, we got to add him into the sequencer. So to do this, we want to find the Add tab on the side here, and then Actor to Sequencer. And here you just want to go ahead and go and find your character and the cube. So as you can see here, I have the posed cat, so I'm going to click that. And you can see that if I open it up, there's a transform node that ends up on the bottom here. And so I'm going to go ahead and just keyframe that to begin with because I want this to be the first key. And now you want to find out what your last one is going to be. So here's where we got to figure out how long we want one turn to last. So I would say 5 seconds is probably pretty good. And this is set to 30 FPS. So that means that we're going to go to 150. Lucky for us, this is already set to 150 automatically, so we can just keep that. So that means I'm going to go ahead and go to frame 150. I'm going to go ahead and keyframe the character's pose right here. There we go. What we can go ahead and do while we're still at 150 is we can now go ahead and actually edit what that number is going to be. So open up the transform. We're going to go to rotation because we want this cat to rotate 360 degrees. So I can just go ahead and start rotating to see where is this actually rotating on, which axis is this. And I'm seeing that this is going to be the Z axis due to the fact that this is blue. And here we have the Z that is blue. So that means it's going to be the yaw, I'm pretty sure. Let's see here. Yep, that is correct. Perfect. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and write 360 into the yaw here. And now, if you go back, you see spinning. Perfect. We're just going to want to redo that for the cylinder here. So I'm going to go ahead and add actor to sequence. Here we have the cylinder. Transform. going to start by just creating a keyframe. And then I'm going to go ahead and go to 150. And we're going to open up the rotation, and that yaw is going to be 360. Perfect. All right. Now, if you see, if we let this play, it's slower in the beginning and it's slower at the end. Now, you might want to keep this, in which case that's fine. But if you wanted to go completely the same time length each time, you're going to want to go ahead and open up the animation keys curve editor, and that is by clicking here. Here you can see that we have a curved line, not a straight line, and that is not what we want. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to select everything here, and then up here, I'm going to set it to be linear. Perfect. And I did this to the cylinder now because I had the cylinder selected, so I have to go ahead and do that to the cat as well. I'm going to go to the cat, click here, and select, and linear. Perfect. And now we can see, if we play, it turns around perfectly. There we go. Very nice. And now, this is a nitpick for myself here, but I noticed that the cat is not in the center. So I'm just going to go ahead and move it right there. And I just have to re-keyframe it now since I've keyframed the entire transform. I can see, if you see now, he kind of moves forwards. We want him to stay where he was. So we need to copy and paste the location node here. So I'm going to go ahead and select these ones, Control C, then I'll make sure I'm on 150 and Control V. There we go. Perfect. Now he is spinning like he should. All right. Now that everything else is set up, we can go ahead and get ready to actually render out this turntable. So I'm going to start by rendering out the textured version first, since we already have that open here. So what you want to go ahead and do is you want to make sure that you have the movie render queue. In order to check this, go to Edit and Plugins. Now in Plugins, you want to go ahead and just search movie render queue. And here you can see the movie render queue. Now I have it checked off, so I'm good to go. But if you don't, you want to go ahead and click this. And before you click it, just make sure to save everything, because once you click this, it's going to ask you to restart Unreal, and you need to restart it. So just make sure everything's saved first. All right, now that this is clicked and you have reopened, then you are ready to render. So how we render is we go here, and we can click on the render movie queue, and this is what's going to open up here. And we're going to want to go ahead and go into settings, where it says unsaved config, click there. So here it's going to open up a few options for us. So the output directory is where are these images going to save, because this is going to go ahead and take a picture for each frame, and then we're going to have to put those pictures together in the end to create a video. So you're going to want to choose here. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and go find a directory to save it in. I'm going to go ahead and call this turntable. And I'm going to create one that is renders 1. I'm going to select that folder. So now all of those images are going to go into that one folder for me, which is going to be very nice to keep it organized. Output resolution, 1920 by 1080 looks good. You can change that to whatever you would like to change it to. Everything else here looks good, so we can go ahead and accept. Now we should be good to go. Cat turntable is going to be the image name. You can change that here if you want to be a different naming convention. And when everything's ready, you want to click render local. Now it's going to go ahead and compile any shaders and warm up. And now we're just going to see how it renders if we need to do any more work. That looked good to me. Perfect. So now we've gone ahead and rendered out a version with the textures. So let's go ahead and render out a version with the wireframe as well. So we can just keep the sequencer open, and we can just do our little drag and drop trick here. So this is going to be over the cat, this is going to be over the clothes, and then we can just go ahead and render out again. Just make sure that you save it into a different file so it doesn't override the other ones. Go ahead and go to Turntable. I'm going to create one that's called Renders 2. Double click in there and select folder. Then everything else is good, accept, and render local. And there we go. Perfect. Now that we have rendered out all our images, we are good to go. Make sure to save often. I'm going to save here. And then we are done in Unreal Engine. Our final step is going to be to put together all those different renders that we took into one cohesive video. So to start, you want to go ahead and open up any video editing software that you have. I use Premiere Pro. And then you're going to want to go ahead and import those images. So I'm going to go ahead and go to File and Import. And now I just have to go ahead and find where I have everything saved. Let's see here. There, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the textured version. So for Premiere, there's this really nice thing called image sequence, where if you click on the first image in a sequence, then you can click here, and you can just go ahead and click open, and it will import all those pictures as a pre-made video. So now I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop that right into here, and you can see I have a video that's already turning for me. Now I want to go ahead and repeat that process, so File and Import with my other renders as well. This automatically got clicked, so I'm good to go. Click Open, then I'm going to go ahead and drag that after here. And now we can see that it is a very nice transition between the two. I can go ahead and just drag this over here actually. There we go. So now I have my textured render and my wireframe render. Now I really enjoy having it be a texture render, wireframe render, and then another texture render, but this will completely depend on what it is you are planning to do. There we go. So I want to go ahead and just copy and paste so that it goes like this. And then the video is pretty much good to go. You can see it is going a little bit slow. It seems like the frame rate did get a little bit messed up at one point, so I do want to speed this up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just delete this last part so we can edit each. I'm going to right click here, go to speed/duration, and I want this speed to be faster, so I want this to be a lower number. Let's try 70. Nope, never mind, I was wrong. 130. There we go. And let's do the exact same thing here. 130. There. Drag those, and now let's see how fast it goes. Yeah, so that works. I think it's still a little bit slow, so I'm going to go ahead and change that again. I'm going to go ahead and go for 170 this time. This as well. Speed/duration, 170. Perfect. Now it's going quite a bit faster. That looks much nicer. There we go. All right. We can say that we're happy there. Just gonna Control and V that one. And then we are ready to export. Let's see. I'm gonna make this into a high quality 1080. I'm gonna go ahead and choose where I want this to be saved. For me, it's going to be in here. And save. Everything else here looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and click on export. And there we go. Now we have it done, and we have a final version of our turntable. Let's take a look at it. If we go here, there we go. I hope that this tutorial was useful and that you guys were able to follow along. Please let me know if there's anything else you guys need help with, and that will be it.